Joe, you look a bit like that Jordan North with your curly hair at the moment.
Well, I'm a good-looking lad, isn't he?
I'm expecting you, mate, to just curl up in a ball, go, take me to a happy place, West End room.
Thank you to our 3 sponsors for supporting our podcast. John Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, who offer fantastic catering services, Alexander Grace Law, who provide modern and client-led legal services, and SPE Furnishings, who offer high-quality furnishings and electrical items at fantastic prices.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's Housecast, the Lowerhouse Cricket Club podcast, where we invite guests on to talk us through various items of their career or their experiences around Lowerhouse, and I am so excited for tonight's guest. I've been thinking about him all day. He's a little proper character, and I'm sure will produce a good podcast for people to enjoy. But before we move on to the guest, if we just quickly go through the co-hosts who are here again, the ever-reliable Joe Martin. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Jess. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it's getting more and more difficult, this lockdown, I think. Can't wait to get out of this Tier 3 and to Tier 2 and go and see some people and get winter out away. But c'est la vie, the vaccine's been dished out today. Have you had one today or not, Joe?
Unfortunately, I'm not in the quite the right age bracket for it. When I was watching on the news last week, I wasn't even in the top 9. Unless, no, I mean, they said if you had some kind of disability, and I don't think my dyslexia counts.
No.
But no, great news. The rates in Lancashire appear to be dropping.
Yeah, that's good.
However, whether that will see us move to Tier 2 on the 16th, it will be.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get there in the new year, get the club opened, and then get some good socialising in and get some money in for the club. So that's good. So the other co-host tonight is Joe Beneducci. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Jeremy. Okay?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Like I said, you keep battling through. Looking forward to this one today. Have you much to report? Is there anything going on in your world, Joe? You can pass to our guests, our audience?
Sorry, not a great deal, I'm afraid. I was disappointed you asked Joe if he'd had his COVID vaccine. I was going to ask you if you'd been in front of the queue today, but never mind.
Yeah. If Joe's not even in top 9, then I've got to be about 5 or something. I believe Les is having his tomorrow. So we'll see. So anyway, without further ado, talking about vaccines, we've got a young lad on this evening who's brought up at the cricket club, literally. Him and his dad would be seen for many, many an hour, having throwdowns when he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Clearly he was going to be a good cricketer. Clearly he was always going to be a character. And it's such a pleasure to introduce you onto this podcast. Tonight's guest is Jonny Whitehead. Welcome, Jonny. Welcome to the Housecast.
Good evening all.
Good. How are you? Just give us what have you been up to this last few weeks whilst we've been in this second lockdown, Jonny?
Well, I'll answer your initial question. Yes, you did ask me how I was. Now, in the famous words of Mark Whitehead, he would reply, "I am rocking and rolling." Now, still to this day, I have no idea what that means because I've never jammed in my life. So let's just take it as I'm jolly good, despite COVID and the implications it's had on me mentally, because I am a mentalist as it is. I mean, I've not had a vaccine. I've probably had something today, but it's not a vaccine. But, I'm all good, Jeremy, and COVID's treated me really well. I mean, I've not seen an office for 12 months nearly. I've just seen a computer and a dining room table and a house full of absolute maniacs.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been really good. I've hit no balls as well. I've hit 0 balls. I did hear on one podcast that Blaise apparently had been throwing balls into a net and catching them as he ricocheted, but no, I've not been doing any of that. No, but I've been chilling out really, Jez, watching a lot of Netflix and chills.
Netflix and chills, you can't beat it. I'm not really sure what it means. I know you Rugrats use that phrase a lot, but
no, I don't. I actually thought it was an innuendo. I actually learnt it from Stan Eaton. Stan Eaton taught me it. I don't know what it means really, but yeah, he once said it to me, and I said, "Sam, what does that mean?" He went into detail, but that's probably for another time. I'll go into that.
Yeah,
you won't be surprised, Jez. You won't be surprised that I don't use that phrase.
Right. Okay then. Anyway, so like you're saying there, you're getting plenty of work done at home, Johnny. You're not doing much preparing for the cricket season, but there's plenty of time. Yeah, you've got 3 or 4 months, so there's plenty of time to do all that. If we can, what we try to do on this, Johnny, is just talk through because the vast majority of people who come on are legends of the club who've always been down right from the start and know a lot of characters, a lot of the different people are down there and have come through the age groups, and you're no exception. What's your early memories of being down at the cricket club, Johnny?
Oh, that is a good question. I joined the club officially when I was 8, but I've been down there since I was bloody 5 or 6. My earliest memories would be, it'd be a Saturday, well, it'd be regardless of what day it was. Has the Lancs League always ran on a Sunday? Has it always been a Sunday league?
Predominantly, then certainly when going back 20 years, the vast majority of games was on Sundays, and then they started playing Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, so my earliest memories would be it'd be a weekend day. I don't know the day specifically, and the arrangement would be obviously I didn't drive, so I would always have to wait on rely on my dad taking me down.
Yeah.
And you'd be playing. I'd be watching you. I'd be watching Stan. And what my dad would be doing is he'd watch the first half of F1. So I'd be watching F1, get out at way, and then he would soon give in once I'd been pecking his head for a good hour or two, saying, "Look, I want to go around to cricket." Right. And what I would do is I'd get onto the cricket club and I'd go and sit next to Grandad Frank, who had a bench next to Cellar Corner.
Yeah.
And one of my earliest memories was I had one of them lollipops where you blew into it and it whistled.
Right.
I remember having this lollipop on this particular game day, and I go and sit next to my granddad, and I'm going, and all of a sudden I said, "Johnny, shut up!" And it's Stan batting. And do you know one thing I do remember, Jez, and this is God's honest truth, I remember this to this day. I remember the time when Stan ran Nicky out and he got stretchered off. No, sorry. Stan got run out and he had to walk Nicky off because he pulled his hamstring.
Yeah, good memory, Johnny.
I do remember that.
Yeah, you would have been. You'd only been 5 or 6. We don't need to work it out. So you're only 5 or 6 and you're remembering stuff like that. And you're always, I remember you being down there. You would always be pottering around. You couldn't keep still, a little bit like you are now. You're up and down everywhere. And that's so good that you spent that time with your granddad and watching the games. What would your dad have been doing then? Was he down ready with your bat and ball, ready for throwdowns at half-time even when you were that young? Yeah,
it would. I don't know where he were when I was sat next to my granddad, but he would definitely had a dozen of balls with him and a cricket bat for me at half time, and I'd just be pelting him into that big white brick on the boundary up on the top. This is when obviously we had a load of benches there instead. Now we've just got that. Yeah. Well, I don't know what it is. I can't even explain it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, you were non-stop whacking up there. Dooch, when you first came down and first started, have you any memories around young Jonny Whitehead? What's the age difference between you two?
Significant.
26.
Johnny, how old are you?
26,
so it's nearly 16 years. So
yeah,
I don't remember seeing. I'd have been playing it for Steam when Johnny first started coming down. I played that game that he referred to there about Stan and Nicky getting run out, or Stan getting run out and Nicky getting carried off. I just wondered, Johnny, how old do you think you would have been when Stan shouted at you to tell you to shut up? 5 or 6?
Yeah.
How many times since then do you think you've been told to shut up whilst you've been on Lowerhouse Cricket Club?
By him?
No, collectively.
Oh God, no, I can't. I lost count on that. I've probably been told more. I've probably been told a lot of times by yourself. Because I had to sit next to you in change rooms, which we'll probably get onto in a minute. And I had the pleasure in being entertained by you for a full game every weekend. So yeah, many times I've been told to shut up, but all for a good cause, Joe. Because at the end of the day, I'm a strong, powerful character, and it takes a lot to stop me from speaking. I like to take the spotlight, and it does take a shut up to put me in my place. Otherwise, you're doomed. You know what I mean? So it's one of them. But I'll tell you what I do remember, Jez, as well. You might have been playing this game, and you might remember next to where Joe used to live. I don't know who lives there now. It's the house close to the scorebox. Okay, so David Renway, the house close to there. There was a brand new black BMW parked there. Right, it was brand new at that time. And I know for a fact it was brand new because I remember the owners kicking off when they found out. And Jack Rudolph put a ball straight through the rear window over the scorebox. Yeah. And for some reason, I just remember walking. I just came onto the ground around that time it happened, and I just remember seeing the ball go through the window. I just remember my face being like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember, because it was obviously, it's a big hit, and it was outside the ground. Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, we were left-hander, weren't he? So it probably would have been a cow corner shot as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Probably a small hit for him, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So all those memories, even at such a young age, which is fantastic. What's the age difference between you, Joe, Martin, and Johnny?
About 9 months.
Yeah.
We're in the same school year.
I'm an August boy.
Yeah, Johnny's August, and I'm December.
What's your memories
same
of...
sets
Pardon?
Well, we eat same sets at school as well.
For what, Joe?
I mean, Johnny was extremely intelligent.
We didn't go to the same school, unfortunately, Dooch, if there's any consolation. But he is substantially brighter than myself. For a start, he reads. I can't even spell read, so...
And you live there?
Yes.
So go on, Joe. Tell us about your early memories of Johnny. Did you play any school cricket with him before the cricket club, or was it just...
No. We... So Johnny and I would have started playing around the same time, I think. Johnny would be able to tell you when he first started playing for the under-11s, but we'd have been a very similar age, I'd have said, 8 to 9.
Yeah, you've nothing there you can recall?
I can remember playing him in the under-11s with him and going to Lancashire trials with him, and Johnny got into Lancashire in the under-11s and I didn't, partly because he was better than me. But I can remember driving back with Mark because he had I don't know if he still got it, but he had a soft top Mercedes. We were driving back from Atherton Cricket Club in that. I mean, but I've been all over. I've been all over with Johnny. We've been to Wales playing cricket. Where we stayed overnight, didn't we?
True story, yeah.
Yeah.
Northrop Hall, Jesse, if you've heard of it. Beautiful place.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Right.
And I can just obviously remember him being an outstanding cricketer. Scored a lot of runs as a junior, and just being mental.
Even at that young age.
Yeah, I mean Johnny will be able to tell you, but he once got reprimanded by the Lancashire coach for a celebration he did when he were on tour for Lancashire.
So go on, Johnny.
Johnny, tell us.
Talk us through that.
So yeah, this was Lancs under 11s was this. So going back to the story with Atherton, that was the final trial for that side that year. So at the end of every year in the junior setup at Lancs, you go to Taunton. I don't think they do it anymore. I think you go to Bunbury instead. But they went to Taunton every year basically. It's just a 5-day tournament where you play every day for the 5 days, just 50 overs each day. And on this particular day, I think it was the 3rd, I actually bowled back then, gentlemen. I bowled left-arm Chinaman. I've bowled this ball to this particular batsman who has decided to absolutely try and moose me out the ground. Bearing in mind, I was on 3 for already, so this was my 4th victim, and he's hit it all the way to long on. Long on's took the catch. I then turned round to the fielder who's caught the ball and just done this like Elvis impression. And I actually got that impression, believe it or not, I actually got that impression from Andy down at the club, who obviously does the Elvis act.
Andy Brown.
Andy Brown. Yeah, so I actually got it off him. No idea what it meant, I just did it. And then at the end of each game, you would get an award. So you get this teddy bear, or you get for a highlight of for like a say if you got like a specific moment within the game, you got a bag of Everton mints. And I got this bag of Everton mints, but he reluctantly tried to give them me. Just as he still held onto the bag, he just said, "Jonathan, don't do that again." And then as he said, handed me the bag, he turned to the team and said about respect and about decorum and good etiquette. And I was just a bit like, a young kid trying to understand what I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't think I said a word.
Elvis impression.
I mean, and it's also through all the junior cricket that we played for Lancashire Northwest representative side, and Johnny has 100% record as a captain. Never lost a game. Did two games and then resigned for the last game to focus on his batting.
Yeah, we won't blurt that about, Joe, because captaincy is not for me. So I think I'm going to keep that record for the foreseeable. I don't think captaincy is something I'm going to go down the route of after seeing. It's not for me. I mean, look at Sav, look at Sutty. I just don't want to be a captain who's stressed all the time. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
And that last game, Jez, we were driving back and we were in Sarah Jane's Clio. Mark were driving a car for some reason, and it were pouring down. I've genuinely never seen rain like it. It was so heavy you couldn't see on the motor. We were driving at like 20 miles an hour. So we pulled into TGI Fridays near Prestwich, and we ordered everything. And Mark ate half my prawns that were wrong.
And the only reason...
They're tasteless. They don't taste of anything.
And the only reason why my dad had ever go to TGI Fridays out of all the options is because he was obsessed with the Oreo milkshake. Still to this day, to be fair. It's the only reason he goes.
Yeah, I remember we sat drinking a milkshake.
Oh, brilliant. Stage 11?
No. We'd have been
10.
10. And you'd ordered a prawn cocktail, Joe?
No. This was later. This was later on.
Make sure it comes with a prawn Mary sauce, please.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, and it's so good to hear you two. So we've got as 10-year-olds an Elvis impersonator playing for Lancashire, and then we've got the Frank Sinatra stroke Michael Ball who walks around in his dinner suit.
Well, we're entertaining, if nothing else, I think, Jess.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic.
I was going to say to George, remember that time you got a 5 for and a run out at Burnley away, bowling?
Yeah.
Medium pace.
Medium pace. I got 5. First Lowerhouse Junior from the new kind of iteration to get 5 wickets. 5 wickets in a game. And they were all P-rollers and a run-out.
Interestingly enough, though, Jez, this is actually back to the junior setup back then was obviously we didn't have the under-9s or we didn't have 4 teams of under-11s for that matter or any of that sort of setup within the junior division. What it was just under-11s, under-13s, 15s, 17s, etc. But what it would do is because Stan had that many juniors, he would switch the sides around. So he would just literally drop some people some weekends and basically that was a game that I missed out on and I just went to watch and Joe's airball in head, skittling everyone.
Brilliant. So that brings me on nicely, Johnny, so you've obviously recognised at an early age that you've got talent and that the county are looking at you. What's your early memories of the setup at Lowerhouse and some of the early games and who was in the sides that you played in? Can you remember any stories around that?
Yeah, I do. I remember it actually really well. I miss it, to be fair, because it was so traditional. It was mad. So obviously you'd have the under-11 side and Stan would he'd put flags out on the boundary edge for one side of the ground and he'd cut out a little wicket that was close to the boundary edge. But then what you'd have you guys training on the actual wickets back then instead of obviously the nets behind the clubhouse like we do now. Yeah. And what most games what we'd see is you guys, once you'd finished your training, you'd actually, I don't know if you remember this, but you'd actually lie down by your bags behind the net and you would watch us for the entire game. And it got to a point actually where our under-11 side was actually a really good side. And, you could see that actually even you guys were enjoying watching it. Like Matt Hope, Blaise, yourself, you're all sat down watching it. Because, I mean, Corey were playing as well. Corey was the captain of that side. So... Yeah, I remember they're certainly from a games point of view, they're the members I remember the most.
Yeah.
Training wise, it was always on a Wednesday and you'd always have one net up we had 2 them steel nets, whatever you want to call them. We had one up at the top of the ground and one at the bottom. Elderly ones or the senior ones would train at the bottom and the youngsters would train at the top. I think it was a guy called Peter Wayne. The coaching. God rest his soul. But yeah, he took the training. So yeah, even the likes of Jamie Gorton used to train with us because he used to play a little bit as well.
Yeah. So he was same age group.
Yeah, DJ Lamed.
We might have to cut that bit out.
Why? DJ Lamed?
Well, no, you can't DJ Lamed.
He's in jail, Joe.
I know.
No, I'm talking to don't douche in case you don't know.
I know.
I don't really think it's an issue calling it DJ Lamed. Considering he's on the front of the What Fought Do CD you play at the start of every frigging podcast.
So you've got in the under-11s there. You're obviously you're doing quite well. You're getting runs and what have you. And as you're growing, how did you find playing cricket? Because you will have played, certainly in the school holidays, almost every day if you're involved with Lancashire and the cricket club. How did you find that?
I mean, to be fair, I weren't scoring runs though. I weren't scoring a lot of runs at all. I mean, it was just 4 over cricket, and I was just one of those players who had the technique. I was just hitting the shots. I didn't hit the ball particularly hard. Didn't hit sixes. didn't hit fours, I just hit the ball. So, I mean, my development all the way through to 11s, 13s, 15s, you know, there wasn't really anything that was outstanding. I just had a knack for the game and had a technique there that was, you know, you could see when I was playing a particular shot. But in terms of dismissing the ball or, you know, dominating an attack, it was never a case of that at all. It was just a very early development stage. It wasn't until I sort of grew and got stronger. I mean, one year I shot up about a foot. And then from there, it just started to blossom, shall we say.
Yeah, I do remember that. When you were younger, you know, you were only a dot. You and Joe Martin the same height, and you would play that. You know that. Yeah, you still are that. You'll play that shot through mid-off and extra cover, and yeah, I see what you're saying. And you did shoot up a little bit. You want to come in there, Joe? What were you?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, we weren't massive. We weren't massive by any stretch, but we could. Jonny timed the ball beautifully. It was incredible, but he had the perfect technique to hit that. And I can remember when Jonny talks about that change when he grew and he was able to hit the ball. Can you remember the game at Lowerhouse, Jonny, when you're about 13 and you clipped a ball off your legs and it went over the trees on the top tea room side?
Yeah, it was against Ramsbottom. Stan always brings that up, actually, especially at the dinner table when we were out at Christmas. We were playing Ramsbottom, and it was, to be fair, for this day, I don't know why he did this. We played on a full-size pitch, Joe, believe it or not. And I were on our middle at square. This ball just bought me like a full toss on my hips. So I've just like hooked it, and it's gone about. Yeah, it would have landed in MKM where MKM is now. And I remember the on the Monday, Stan were bringing it up because he was just flabbergasted at it. Probably because he couldn't ever hit a ball that far, to be fair to him, the poor sod. Yeah, I remember him saying something like he got Pete Tight. No, he got Phil Aston to measure it out. I don't know what the distance was. I don't know the stat, but I just remember something being probably talking nonsense. But yeah, I just remember that. I remember that game very well.
It was massive, Jez. It was massive. I can remember I was batting with him at the other end, and I can remember looking at him.
I don't remember you being the other end, Joe. Actually, I don't remember that.
Cheers. I'm glad I had an effect on you, John. It was genuinely. I can remember because Stan said after you hit it, he went, right, don't try and outdo him now because you can't.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, I'm sure it did happen, Johnny. Well, that's nothing that would be a figment of your imagination, and Joe remembered it. So, so all credit. So as you develop there and you're getting towards, what sort of age were you when you shot up? I remember seeing you. It was almost like I saw you on a Saturday and you were 4'6". Then you came back following day and you were nearly 6 foot. How old were you then when that happened?
It had been 14 and 15 I'd have shot up.
Yeah, right.
Because 15 when I had 14 and 15.
Yeah, so then you're starting to play a little bit. You know, it's obviously an older grade cricket. Did you start to look to push through to the third 11 then?
Well, I mean, this is something that I've not yet heard about on the podcast pod because you've obviously not. I'm probably the youngest you've had on as a guest. But Eric Howarth played a massive role with my development as a young age because he enrolled me with the sides for BJSOB when they were playing. So most weekends I was always playing cricket at senior level from the age of 11 and 12 and 13.
Right, I didn't know that.
I was playing the likes of Rolls Royce, Barn Olswick, Belvedere. I played some games for Belvedere when they were short. Yeah. It was always done on the dodgy side where you just put me under a different name. But yeah, I was playing all the sides like Bryn School, your Salisbury's, and it was just something that my dad heavily encouraged. So hats off to Eric. I was really thankful for what he did really from a young age because it sort of exposed me to that senior cricket, that senior level. I do actually remember one game I was playing at Padiham against Padiham obviously, and Steve Meehan was bowling for them, and he to me at that age back then he had a yard on him, and I remember him bowling at me. He bowled this ball at me, so I'm whisking past my head. He's hit me on one delivery, and I'm crying my eyes out. Anyway, next thing you know, umpires turned around to me and said, "Look, will you slow it down just for him, please?" So anyway, ball after. He slowed ball down. I've just covered right through covers for 4. She said, "Stack this," and he put it up a notch and started carrying on balling quick at me.
Brilliant. And you'd only been young then, so that's good experience. You're playing in that sort of cricket, and then as you got 11, 12, 13, you've started to grow and develop. Did you get quite a few runs in that for the old boys then, or?
If you look at it over the season, probably not. For the age I was, you'd probably be, I probably did good, probably did well.
Yeah.
I had my first half century with them at 12 on that ground by the the old grammar school playing field. Yeah. No, nothing that you'd scream home about. But for my age, it was more about just that exposure to senior cricket and getting some sort of experience in there.
Yeah.
But 13 will have been 13 was when I made my third team debut with Lowerhouse, and then that's when I moved away from BJSB. I never went back there after that.
Right. And you played in the senior teams. Yeah. What were your early memories of that, of playing in, and being involved in those long days and as being a young kid? What's your early memories? Well,
I must have had the most interesting third team debut I think any 13-year-old kid will ever have. So we're at Rottenstall away. We've bowled first, and Stan was one of the umpires. So I've come into bat. I've come into bat at 3, and I'm batting with a player who don't play at Lowerhouse anymore. What a player he was, called Takira Toxie. Unbelievable batsman, unbelievable player. I was batting with him, and anyway, long story short, we've won the game. He's made an half century, I've made an half century, unbeaten. We've walked off, all jolly good. What I've not mentioned is the other umpire. So the other umpire that was, God rest his soul, was Chizzy, Jez.
Right.
Now, Chizzy needed a lift home. Now, I've had no involvement in this, but I mean, as you can probably appreciate, 13, I've just had my first team debut. I've just made a 50, not out, won the game. I'm buzzing. So I get to lift home with Lewis Marsden and Sean Eaton. So I make my way back to the club, starts to get me J2O, because, that's beer to me back then. I'm enjoying myself. And I get a call from my dad about 2 hours later, or an hour later, and I said, "Hey, Dad, where are you?" He said, "Well, we're at the hospital." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I've run over Chizzy's foot." I said, "What?" He said, I've run over Chizzy's foot. So it turns out that the story was he was reversing out of the car park next to where the car park is now at Rottenstall. Obviously, you can park on the main road and you get the car park at the back behind the ground. He's reversing out, and he's literally not seen Chizzy where he is, and he's ran over his foot to the extent where Chizzy is lead on the floor, Jez, and I shit you not, he's literally like this off ground. "You ran over his foot!" Like this with foot in air. So he's got him to hospital, and this isn't even best of it. So he's got him to the hospital. Obviously, Chizzy's being seen to. Chizzy goes, Mark, can you do us a favour?" He goes, "What, Chizzy?" He goes, "We just popped at Chinese and get me tea." So Dad had to go to Chinese, get him his tea. Obviously, I'm at Lowerhouse. Things are starting to shut up. People are leaving. So Dad has to come get me with Chizzy in the car. So the night's not over yet. So I've now got Chizzy in the front seat of my car, and I'm in the back. We have to drop Chizzy off at home. We've got to his house. We've opened up the door. There's no lights or anything. He wobbles through the living room, turns the light on. He's got Christmas decorations up. With one of them, I shit you not, Jez, with a train track, with one of them trains, electric, that goes round the house. And he turns the lights on, and I'm like, what am I witnessing here? So obviously I was a bit freaked out. At the time, I was a bit freaked out. I said, "Dad, I'm going to go and wait in my car." So anyway, talked him out, and, that's it. And then, it sort of kicked off from there, really. Finished off that season in the thirds and went on to the season after.
So that's like you said, a very interesting debut and memory around the first game of the season. Because obviously it would have been summer, so he's got his Christmas tree up in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Chizzy, by the way, is Alan Chisnell, who was an umpire. He also got, as well as getting his foot run over by Mark, he actually got hit in a T20 game at Ramsbottom, I think, or Rottenstall. One of those two was umpiring a T20 game and got hit in the mush with a cricket ball. Had to abandon the game.
Okay. Crack.
I loved him. He umpired me a couple of times after that, so we had a good catch up. But yeah, cracking blow.
Yeah, fantastic. He had an eventful day. So you're 13, 14. You start. You've obviously you're getting runs in the third team. You got a 50 on your debut. When did the second team start coming knocking for you? Do you think? Can you remember?
Season after. So right. I played that one season in the thirds, and then the season after I was put in the seconds. But
what year are we talking about here? What year, Johnny?
2010, I made my first team debut, but that'd have been 2009 is the year I made my second team debut.
Okay.
I only did, because I'll get onto it in a minute. Obviously, I only did one full season in the twos, and then I only did about 6 games of the second season in the two before going into the first.
Right.
And
what's your memories of that? Go on. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, I remember. I was actually a keeper. Yeah, I was actually a keeper. Not by. I don't know why I was the keeper. I mean, I did some keeping work for BGSOB, and then Stan was obviously short of a keeper in the twos. And I mean, Joe progressed into the first. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. Let me just go back a bit here. Joe was in the twos when I made my second team debut. But then Joe made his first team debut later on that year, because I take it that maybe Jack McGregor left or Charlie was no longer doing it. The back end of that first season in the twos, I did some keeping work, and then started it into the second season being in the twos before going into the first. So I remember being a keeper. I remember it. I don't remember doing any work keeping wise in the thirds. Definitely not. Just the twos. So it was just a very temporary thing. I think, like I said again, Stan was a short of a player. But first game of my second team career, another story for you. We played Bake Up at home. Joe actually got 96 that day. Yeah. But I managed, Jez, to Paul Stanley was captain, Gav Shields was team manager. What a fantastic setup that were. And Aggers was Joe's opening partner. And for some reason, Aggers decided to stall on the third run on the first ball of the game, not the inning, not the actual game. We batted first. He's managed to run himself out. But what Joe didn't explain in that podcast where he did explain this game is how Aggers actually ran himself out. Aggers decided to dive on his two knees, but his knees got stuck. His knees got stuck in the wicket, Jez. So he didn't actually move. He just stopped in the ground. And I remember it clear as day, because I remember being a bit obviously nervous at my first game. I remember just this head popping up in his claret helmet. He went floor like this on the ground. He just went, oh. And he walks off from the wicket with his head down all the way to the changing rooms. And then,
so that's your debut.
Order! Send more house to save the house.